Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. I'm Scott Lambert, and this time I would like to call to order the December 11th, 2024 East Whiteland Township Board of Supervisors meeting. Please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I would like to introduce our attendees here at the table. To my immediate left is Steve Brown, our township manager, Bernadette Kearney, our solicitor. To my right is Vice Chairman Rich Orlow, and to Rich's right is Peter Fixler, supervisor. I'll start off with board briefings. We had executive sessions that were held at 5 o'clock on December 11th to discuss legal, personnel, and real estate issues. Next, we have grant application updates, and I'm going to pose a question to everyone out there. At what is the dollar amount you think that the grant annual 24 grants are up to at this point in time? Anybody have a guess?
Not Catherine.
Now, we're at $12.7 million at this point in time. So if you can give a little bit of an update, Catherine?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, to that end, I wanted to, since this is the last meeting of the year, I wanted to provide just a few notable grant updates from the 2024 year as a whole, which is particularly relevant as we also have the 2025 budget before the board this evening. So just briefly, there's three things I want to highlight. Of that $12.7 million that you just mentioned, $5.3 million of that were awarded just in the 2024 calendar year, which is very impressive. And the three projects most attributable for those funds are Route 30 improvements. It's been an ongoing conversation. The Sidley Mill trail design and construction, and open space acquisition. And so the total of those awards, as I mentioned, is roughly $5.3 million. But it's not just money in the bank. It's actually going to translate to real projects that we have budgeted for next year. So we're really excited to report back to the board and the public on how we make out with those projects next year, because they're going to be highly visible projects for the township. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you had some other perspectives you wanted to share on what that $5.3 million means to the individual taxpayer.
Thanks, Catherine. I reached out to Dave Grady, our new CFO, and said, how can we equate this large pot of money to different look at it in different ways so people have an understanding of what the $12 million is looking for, what it really looks like. Some interesting facts are that the funds received in 24 covers 53% of the total combined 2025 projected costs. 81% of projected costs are covered by grants or open space revenue. On the Route 30 portion, 48.8% of the total project cost is covered by those grants. The Sidley Mill trail design and construction, 91.25% of the total project cost is covered by these grants. The open space acquisition is covering about 40% of the projected costs. The 24 grant funding received so far equates to about $356.78 per person in the township, or about $1,039 per household. And this is the one I think that really stands out in my mind, is that the grant funding, if we didn't have this grant funding, it would require a 44% increase in the EIT to generate that amount of revenue. And from a real estate tax perspective, it would require over a 600% increase. So these are real dollars that are making a positive impact on the infrastructure of the township, but it also is keeping our taxes down, your taxes down. So, I applaud everyone that has been involved with this, and there's been a lot of people, but Catherine has certainly been taking the main role at this point in time, and I thank you for that.
If I can make just one comment on that, it's a very helpful, very impressive what we've done. The only thing to be aware of, if none of these grants happen, it doesn't mean that the taxes would have been increased that much. So just keep that in the back of your minds.
Good point. Good point. Moving on to Park and Rec with updates. Larry, are you on Zoom?
I am here, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we kind of roll into winter months and into 2025, it's kind of a slower time for Parks and Rec, but we're looking forward to 2025. But before us right now, we actually are doing our first ever Holiday Lights contest. This is open for all township residents. It is free to enter. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes to fill out the form. Just put in your information, send in a few pictures, and you can be added to our Holiday Lights map. It's an interactive virtual map where anyone with the link that is on our website can look around all the people who are participating and see all the great holiday lights throughout the township. So this is a contest first and foremost. There are prizes to be had, and there are 4 different categories that township staff will be voting on. The first category is classic charm, your kind of classic holiday lights decor, that traditional kind of warm holiday lights setup we all think of. There's cozy glow for smaller houses that might not have the capacity to go as big and large as some of the others, but still have a real place and significant role in the township as far as holiday lights go. Dazzling displays, think of those incredibly large displays that you can see from space, over the top, but obviously beautiful. And then whimsical wonderlands, those displays that don't necessarily fit into any one specific mold, a little outside the box, really fun and engaging sort of things. So those are our 4 different categories, and township staff will be voting on that. The winners of each of those categories will win $100 and also a yard sign to put it in front of their house to signify that they are the best of the best. On top of that, we are doing a public vote, a people's choice for every house that enters. That will be a first, second, and third prize. First prize of $200, second prize of $150, and third prize of $100. And that will be available for open judging starting next week. So if you know anybody who might be interested in registering, tell them to register as soon as possible. And a huge thanks to Pico as they sponsored this and would not be able to have this contest without them. Moving on, we have our annual events calendar before you at the end of this meeting to be confirmed for next year. Most of it is recurring familiar programming and events that we had this year. I think most of what we did this year was a great success. I want to kind of expand and continue that growth that we saw this year. We are doing one new event in the form of a Renaissance Fair Festival style in March with the help of the Malvern Library. Location to be determined, finalizing some things on that. But a lot of this year for 2025 will be focusing on programming as I'm working to finalize partnerships with various event organizers and program providers looking to provide things like yoga, art classes, some sports leagues. But if anybody is looking to offer classes or any programs, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, as I'm always looking to partner with the amazing people in and around East Whiteland Township. Finally, I want to send out a huge thank you on behalf of myself and the Parks and Rec Board to acknowledge the work of members Tim Phelps and Tom O'Neill for their years of excellent service and dedication in helping make the township just a little better. Both of them will be stepping away from the board at the end of the year, and they will be sorely missed, but their impact has been felt throughout the board and throughout the township in their years of service, and just want to acknowledge them and what they've done for us. So thank you to them. And that's all.
Thanks, Larry. Would you like to circle back to on the holiday lights contest? Any dates, or would you like me to read those off?
Yes. So registration is currently open. It closes next Monday and then judging will take place the following Tuesday until December 22nd. So if you are going to register, make sure you have your lights on for those dates, as judging will take place. And then on December 23rd, that is a Monday, we'll be announcing the winner via social media and our website.
Okay.
And the winners will be featured in our upcoming newsletter as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to discussing the reorg meeting, which is going to be held on January 6th at 5 o'clock. This will be a standard 15 to 20 minute meeting that's required by the state under municipal codes. And it is going to be in person only. There's not going to be any Zoom at all related to it.
And you will hold your regular meeting in January.
Right. And then we'll go back to
2 days later.
Yeah.
the regular standard Board of Supervisors meeting. And the countdown will begin for Rich to retire.
The countdown
12.
begun.
Yes, the New Year's Eve ball we need to get. Keeps going down.
I would just mention it's January 8th. And regular.
And that date is January 8th, is that first board meeting in 2025. Okay. Farewell tour. I like that. Final board briefing is pertaining to, just kind of want to give folks an update on the social media consulting group that we've hired and talk about a few of the great programs that they've been putting together, in part by hearing from our residents about wanting to get more information and different sources of where they can get the information. And we have Dandelion's Digital, which has done a great job going forward with setting up the e-newsletter, which I've had a lot of positive comments that has come out. So if you're not on the receiving end of it right now, you can sign up and have those sent directly to you. And that's a monthly newsletter, right, Donna? Monthly? Also, we have another kind of fun program. Do we want to put anything up? Any pictures? No pictures? We have we have a fun thing called the Pet of the Month, and I thought we were going to end up having this past month's winner up there. So if you've got some dogs or cats or other pets that you want to showcase, you can access them. Application on our
Your pet, or can it be
Can whatever, any pet you want. All right. You know, it's really a cute picture. So again, we also have a redesigned website that's going to probably go through some further changes to try to make it user friendly and put out more information. So look forward to that in 2025. I'm going to ad-lib one thing that I saw come across my desk really late this afternoon that I think the residents should know about. John Neal, there's now an update for the PennDOT road work on Route 29.
They called us the other day. They're going to start work on January 10th. That's going to be daytime lane closures. And then sometime in mid-February, it's going to go down the one lane direction. And they start on the northbound side. So all traffic will be on south.
Okay.
We're looking at 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
So,
Yep. I know they originally were trying to do this in September, October, and I understand they ended up having another major project that they had to go to.
They teamed this up with 202 and King of Prussia, so it's one big job. They were going to do one and then the other. They
Put it together.
work on
Okay.
both at the same time.
Okay. And I'll give you my blessing or our crew in the event that we have any large snowfalls during that period of time for that portion of the road. Yeah, that's PennDOT. Yeah, they can handle it. Okay, very good. Thanks for that update. Moving on to board motions and resolutions. I guess, Dave, if you want to give us kind of a snapshot summary of our 2025 budget, and we can consider voting on it tonight.
Sure. As we've mentioned at the past couple meetings, we've talked about the 2025 budget. There have not been any changes to the budget since it was last presented. So I'll go over a couple just quick highlights. Overall, first question is there going to be a tax increase for general operations? No. The only tax increases are going to be related to the open space, which passed by referendum last month. But as far as the general purpose taxes are concerned, for 2025, the total budget is going to be $18,153,750, which is just about a 3% increase. A lot of that increase is going to be related to expected fees related to development. So that is not going to be coming directly from taxpayers. And we are presenting a completely balanced budget. So the revenues and expenditures do equal the $18,153,000. Do you have any questions you want me to go into more detail? Departments, anything like that with the general fund?
I have no questions.
Same, I have none.
I have no questions either.
I will move on to the capital improvement fund. So for the capital improvement fund, we do have a number of projects that are going to be spending some money next year. Fortunately, there is grant funding that is available that will help offset some of those costs. But one of the big ones is going to be our stormwater remediation, the MS4 project that is required by the state for all municipalities that are MS4 permittees. And that's estimated to be a little over a $2 million project. So the total expense in the capital improvement fund is $5,845,115. And that is also a balanced budget with some use of fund balance that is existing, capital improvement. No questions about the capital improvement fund. I'll move on to the park improvement fund. Our park improvement fund does include some land acquisition, which fortunately we have also received funding for that was alluded to earlier in the meeting. Right now, the park improvement fund is $3,019,617. Again, that is a balanced. Our liquid fuels fund, this is funding that we receive from the state to go towards work on township roads. So these are non-PennDOT roads, even though it is money coming from the state. Total revenues are $625,000, and we are anticipating using that $625,000 to surface. And then lastly is our open space funds budget. So this budget is going to look fairly sizable at $16 million, but a large part of that is due to the bond issuance that is anticipated related to the acquisition of open space. And so all of the funding for the open space fund is going to come from a combination of the earned income tax, which is estimated at $420,000. That's the 0.05 that was recently adopted, and then the real estate tax revenue of 0.45 mils, in addition to interest, puts and the potential bond proceeds a little over 16 million. And that is it for our major funds. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, the question I have is more for this year. I know we're expecting somewhat of a surplus. At what point in 2025 would we have a reasonably credible number?
I would say probably in January.
Okay.
Something
And-
I'd like to work with our auditor to ensure we're on the same page with what that surplus is.
Sure.
But hopeful we can present something to the board if there is a surplus there. Potentially transferred to a capital improvement fund or capital fund.
Right. Okay.
No questions? No questions from the audience?
Thank you, David.
Good job putting this all together in your first 60 days here or so. So, with that, any questions? Rich, would you like to make a motion for approval?
Sure. Make a motion to approve the 2025 budget as presented.
Have a second?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and passes. Steve, could you give us an overview on the next topic?
Yeah, thank you, Scott. This resolution accompanies the budget approval this time of year, and we're required to establish the real estate tax levy for both general purposes, and as Dave noted, we will have an open space real estate tax. For general purposes, the millage rate remains the same as it has been for, I believe, over 20 years, 0.445 mils. And for open space, again, this is new. Was approved by referendum in November, and so that millage rate will be 0.45 mils. Is it?
The resolution I've got is .445.
The general purpose is .445.
That's right.
And then
Should be
open
the same.
space on what I'm reading says .45.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, just to clarify and make sure. Okay, any questions
None.
besides mine? Okay. Peter, would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to approve the new set tax rates for the general fund to increase the millage to .445 for the general fund, and for the open space to the sum of .45 mils. For the tax levy by resolution number 32-2024.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And passes. Catherine, if you could give us an overview on the final allocation of the ARPA funds for this year?
Thank you. So the township was allocated under the American Rescue Plan Act associated with the COVID-19 pandemic several years ago, approximately $1.35 million in what's referred to as state and local fiscal recovery funds, what we typically refer to as ARPA funding. That's the commonly used term. And I'm just going to run down through a few brief analyses of how that funding's been utilized and allocated by the board over the last few years. There was an $800,000 HVAC system improvement used with that funding. There were several initiatives for People's Pantry, summer camp scholarships, contributions to Home of the Sparrow, the Katie Markley PTO, Malvern Public Library, A Child's Light, and Cogwell, contributions for public initiatives made last year, leaving, after all of these expenditures, a total of $259,839 in remaining funds that needs to be allocated. Under the requirements, all of this funding needs to be dedicated by the township by December 31st of this year. And dedicated means that these funds must be specifically attributed to a project that's already under contract. And so at this point in time, staff are recommending that the Board of Supervisors would allocate the remaining funding to the Warren Avenue Culvert Replacement Project, which is already under contract and has been awarded. And that work is expected to be complete in 2025. Just a reminder to the board that all of our funds must be fully expended by December 31st, 2026. But we expect with the project timeline for Warren Avenue that the work will be complete well before that deadline.
Want to make a motion?
No questions, Donna?
No comments.
Okay. Yes, Peter, thank you.
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to approve the final allocation of the ARPA funds in the sum total of $259,839 to the Warren Avenue Culvert Replacement Project.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And passes. Thank you. Dave, if you can come up and give us the overview on the Pliget accounts for the open space tax revenue.
Sure. We are just asking the board to ratify the approval of the creation of a bank account through Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Pliget. We already have accounts with Pliget. This will be a separate bank account that is specifically for open space funding. So all funding that comes in from the earned income tax, real estate tax, will go into this fund, so it is segregated from general fund operating.
And you want to give an overview on the next topic too, with the police asset
Sure.
forfeiture
Sure.
fund?
We're also asking the board to approve another Pliget account. This is again a separate account where we'd like to designate funding received from the asset forfeiture fund. This is federal funding that comes from asset seizures, drug enforcement action. And this is something we work closely with the police department on. So, because this is federal funding and it needs to be segregated from the general purpose operations. So just to know, we have been receiving money through this program for years, but it always been kept in the general fund. So we just like to separate it to make it a little.
Just for people that are not familiar, can you just give a short blurb on Pliget and who they are and how expansive they are in the state of Pennsylvania with regards to municipalities?
Sure. So Pliget is very widely used within Pennsylvania. I actually don't know many municipalities that don't already use Pliget. They only invest in investments that are approved by the state. So you know that anything that's being put into the Pliget funds is something that the township is allowed to invest in under second-class township code. So Pliget is someone that we here at the township have had a long time. I used my prior employer, and they've always had very, very competitive rates.
Okay, great, thank you. Rich, would you like to make a motion on D and E here?
Sure. Make a motion to ratify the approval of creation of a Pliget account one for open space tax revenue and a separate one for an account for asset forfeiture equitable sharing funds. Isn't that a nice name? Equitable sharing funds for funds we take from people. Okay. Okay.
And we don't charge extra, so hey, you know, what can you say?
That's federal government, that's right.
Peter, would you like second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Both
Thank you.
accounts
This is a
approved.
nice way.
Steve, I'll move on to you with, as we consider the authorization for you to sign an agreement of sale for the Schiffer property.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna have to do a better job reviewing the agenda and get my initials off of some of these projects that I really can't take much credit for. This is, I've been involved in it, obviously, but Catherine's taken the leading oar with assists from Zach and Larry and Bernadette. But this is the property that was formerly owned by the Schiffer family and is presently owned by the Westchester University Foundation. It's in the extreme southwest corner of the township on Moorstein Road. It's actually in East Whiteland, East Goshen, and West Whiteland, totaling just over 52 acres. We have received grant funding from Chester County and DCNR totaling $1,870,000. And with the enactment of the recent open space taxes, there will be a funding gap left of about $1.2 million. The foundation has been in discussions with us, with primarily, again, Catherine and Bernadette, to work on an agreement of sale. they're very eager for us to proceed, as they will use every dollar for scholarships at Westchester University. So, the money will be put to a good use. It really is a win-win. You preserve open space, and then the funds will go to needy students at the university. So the agreement of sale has been put together. There's a due diligence period that we'll go through. It's pretty standard. And so if the board is ready, we would like you to make a motion to authorize me to execute the agreement of sale.
Donna, any questions from the public? Are there anybody on the Zoom at this moment? There are 3 people on there. Okay. Okay. Peter, would you like to make a motion?
I would love to. I've been waiting all year for this. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the township manager to sign an agreement of sale for the acquisition of the West Chester University Foundation property on Mornstein Road, otherwise known as the Schiffer property.
You have a second? I second that.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those dissenting?
Yes, I would dissent. I understand majority is in favor, and that's fine to go through with this. I just think it's unusual to acquire land in another township. That's my whole basis.
Okay. But the motion passes. Steve, I could skip you and maybe go to somebody else here.
No, well.
If you want to talk about the collective bargaining agreement.
Well, yeah, I wasn't planning on going into many details other than to say the culmination of many months of negotiations between, we'll say, management and the police association. On the, we'll say, management side, it was really led by Naveen Warhawi, our HR director. Catherine was a big part of it. I was in the meetings, and we also had Police Command, Chris Yeager, John Kopez, and Tricia Doyle. And on the association side, we had TJ Ralph, Joe Wolf, Tony Falgator, and Misty Greenwald. And while there were a lot of details, a lot of things discussed and hashed out, it was always professional. And in the end, I would say, like with most of these agreements, both sides are happy with some of it and both sides are not real happy with parts of it. But that's the nature of this give and take process. So it has been presented to the board previously, and I would just ask that you make a motion to approve it so we can sign the document.
Any public comments? Seeing none. Rich, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the Police Association collective bargaining agreement. This is did you say it's a 5-year contract?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And passes. Next item up is a battery-powered it's not radar, but it's a radar sign. Chris, you want to just give a quick overview?
So these are 3 battery-powered radar signs. I know the speed devices that you see sometimes when you drive down the road, and you'll see like a speed limit sign or another directional sign, and along the post, we can put this roughly 12 to 16 inch by 16 inch sign that tells your speed.
Chief,
So-
is that for people whose speedometers don't work?
Hopefully it's for everybody. I get it. So we got 3 of them, and they match to 3 that we've had for almost 13 years now. So we have some extra parts and batteries that we're still utilizing, but some of the diodes and all have burnt out. So we're going to replace. We'll be able to use them a little bit, but we can't rely on them. So we have these 3, and we'll be putting them into service. They have a little bit different look. So if you're speeding, it's going to flash and tell you to slow down or something along those lines. Whereas before it would just flash a little. Now it's going to say slow down. So that's it. We're it's $10,701 for the 3 of them.
Maybe the next generation, it'll spit out a speeding ticket and mail it at the same time on the internet.
I thought you were going to say it was going to
I'm
put up
surprised you
something.
haven't. I'm surprised you haven't come to us asking for that upgrade, if it even exists. But anyway, sure. Would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to ratify the purchase of speed signs for the police not to exceed $10,701.
Just a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And passes. Moving on to motion to award and motion to advertise. John?
We had the bid opening for truck number 320 on Saturday, and the top bid was $38,600. So we're very happy to take that.
Say that again, John?
38,600.
38,000? Okay, that's a typo, Don?
That's
I
a
was
big
thinking-
typo.
It's a big typo. She has 86.
86,000.
I wish.
I was thinking that is a big truck for 86 used.
Is that close to what we expected or hoped for?
That's well over.
Even better. Okay.
Rich, you want to make a motion? It's already
Sure.
sold, but
Motion to approve the sale of truck number 320 for 36,000, you said?
38,600.
38,600. Okay.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
And passes. Catherine, if you can give us an overview on the RFP award for traffic engineer?
Thank you. Yes. Earlier this fall, the board authorized the advertisement for a traffic engineer that went out via RFP, and I'm pleased to announce that 3 proposals were received in total from Carroll Engineering, Benesh Engineering, and Bowman Engineering. For this RFP, Township staff followed the PennDOT Publication 93 requirements. And the reason why we're following this process is related to the Route 30 improvements and the grant funding that's associated with that. This is meant to streamline that process because several of the grant awards require us to follow the Publication 93 requirements. Typically, when the township is looking for what's called professional services, such as traffic engineering, we're not required to follow this rigid process, but we entered into this process, and these are the 3 proposals that were returned. So just briefly outline the 4 categories of criteria that were evaluated as part of each of these proposals. They all pertained to areas of expertise in traffic engineering, including relevant municipal experience, understanding of the township, and grant program administration. And these are all categories, obviously, of particular importance to the township, and they were tailored to our specific needs. So the applicants were requested to respond to each 4 of these categories, and then they were subsequently reviewed and scored by an internal committee consisting of township staff familiar with the traffic engineering process. So with that being said, staff are recommending Bowman Engineering as the high scoring firm for this RFP.
Definitely a familiar face there.
John, any questions from public? None? All right. Catherine, would we actually see some activity January, February? from
Yes.
this?
At last month's, separate from this RFP, at last month's Board of Supervisors meeting, the preliminary engineering contract was let. And so Bowman will start working on the preliminary engineering piece of this starting in January.
We'll get a copy of the engineering design once it's completed before it goes to actual construction drawings?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
good. Okay, great. At what point do any landowners get notified who are affected by this? We know of one.
It's a great question. So actually, we do have routine meetings with Bowman regarding this project and others. And one of the things that we just discussed at our meeting this week was starting to identify a few things that we think will be of particular importance to or interest to both the board and the property owners in that corridor. And one of the things is identifying sensitive properties that will need some preliminary attention to them. So where we're either having like a high impact or a perceived high impact to the frontages of those properties. And also we're looking at options for the median area. So those are going to be the two areas where you could expect to hear more in the very short term from staff and Bowman.
As part of the preparation of the preliminary designs, do they also put together the proposed cost estimate
Yes,
and value engineering options based on the preliminary design?
that's right. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay. Without any further questions, Peter, would you like to make a motion to award
Sure,
Bowman?
thank you. Please, I'd like to make a motion to approve Bowman as the traffic engineer for the RFP award.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And passes. Steve, want to take over for the CPA firm advertisement?
Yes, this is another holiday tradition that we discuss each year in December. I'm happy to announce that this tradition will end
Yes.
after this year. The state law that requires us to advertise the appointment of a professional CPA to perform the audit has changed, and it will no longer be required. And so this will be the last time we need to do it. So the board is being asked to approve the advertisement of the appointment of Malley as our CPA firm, as we have for the past, I don't know how many years.
Okay.
How much
Peter,
will that save us per year?
The advertising?
No,
How much will it save?
Yeah, to
I'm not sure.
higher.
$300, $400 probably.
oh, is it just now? Okay.
Yeah, it's a legal ad, and yeah, probably in that neighborhood.
It's good. I'll make a motion.
Yeah, would you make a motion?
I would love to make a motion. It's the night of good motions. I'd like to approve the advertisement to appoint a CPA firm.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And passes. We'll move on to planning and development. Zach Barner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So under, excuse me, under item 5A, we do not have any land development applications that require a decision here this evening. Under 5B, we have one project, I apologize, where the applicant is requesting that the board authorize the solicitor to draft a resolution for consideration at next month's meeting. That is Land Development 07-2024 for a project on Great Valley Parkway by Johnson & Johnson Innovative Medicine. This is a preliminary and final combined land development approval, and I believe the whole applicant team here is available to give an overview and answer any questions the board may have.
Good evening, everyone. Allison Zaro on behalf of Johnson & Johnson Innovative Medicine. With me tonight is Kevin Selger, who's from Gilmore & Associates, which is the civil engineering firm for the project, and Dave Cochran from J&J, which I think you are familiar with. Everybody that's with me this evening. This is the next latest upgrade project to the buildings that J&J owns in the corporate center. I will also note, just by way of background, recently Janssen decided to rebrand again as Johnson & Johnson Medicine. So still all the same thing we talked about before, but now they're going by J&J officially again. So there you go. The two buildings we're here tonight to talk about, or the two properties I should say, are located on Great Valley Parkway. They are in the interior of the loop. So what you're looking at here on the screen is the bottom part of the loop in the center, essentially. I don't know if you have the overall map. So the two properties that we're talking about tonight are, and J&J calls all of their buildings M something with a number. So 244 Great Valley Parkway is where Jack has the cursor. It's, like I said, that Great Valley Parkway loop is on the bottom part of the loop, so it's in the center, and then 260 Great Valley Parkway is next to it to the east, and that is what we refer to as Building M9. So the bulk of what we're here tonight about, the actual land development itself, is on the M1 property. And both of these buildings are older buildings in the corporate center dating back to the late 70s, early 80s. So they are sort of tight in terms of what's on the site today. So we did go to the zoning hearing board first with respect to what we're proposing tonight. And I'll get back to that when Zach flips back to the other screen. We needed some impervious coverage relief and setback relief, which the board of the zoning hearing board granted in August. And then we did appear before the Planning Commission in October on the land development. So when you're looking at the left part of the screen, that is Building M1, and primarily what we're proposing are upgrades in the front of the site. That's what constitutes the land development. This particular site today is currently non-conforming with respect to the parking requirement. The building that you're looking at on the screen on M1 is primarily used for office, laboratory, and manufacturing. So there's broken down parking requirements for that. We are adding 21 parking spaces to the site. So we're actually going to reduce the nonconformity on the site. It's not going to get it quite there, but it reduces the nonconformity. That'll allow some of the cars that are currently parking on Great Valley Parkway to be pulled off into that parking lot. The other thing that we're doing is the building today is not ADA compliant from the number of parking spaces that are required for ADA, as well as current ADA requirements for access to the building. So you'll see that there are improvements shown next to that parking lot, additional ADA spaces, a walkway that will connect out to Great Valley Parkway, and they're also adding an outdoor amenity on the front of the building for the employees. The other major thing that we're doing on the front of the site is adding a sidewalk along the frontage. And it's not exactly as clear from this rendering, but on the site plan, you'll see that this sidewalk is sort of wandering a little bit. We worked with staff on this to make sure that we could retain some of the existing trees on the site. So the reason you're seeing it not just going linearly across is to try to leave it around as many trees as we could on the front of the property. I will note that there are some trees that are being removed in front of the site, obviously, to do this, but we were cognizant of it. The other parts of this project relate to generators, which themselves are not truly land development, but were part of our zoning relief setbacks. This generator to the rear straddles the property line with building M9, which is why building M9's referenced as part of this land development. And that will actually, that generator area will serve the eastern half of the building on the site, and then there will be an electrical connection to the building in the rear, which is known as building M5. And they tried to centralize it so it would have the least impact in terms of streetscape and that kind of thing. There's also a second generator that's proposed on the west side. We do have review letters from the consultants, a review letter from Arrow dated November 19th, a review letter from Bowman dated December 4th, and our land concepts review letter is actually a little bit older because it was cleaned before we went to the planning commission, and that is dated October 16th. And the comments in those letters that are remaining are will comply. I note that Bowman did have another comment that they emailed after the letter was issued, and that was suggesting that we add a bus pad on the frontage for SEPTA's micro transit program, which, based on my conversation with Zach today, and I guess what I've been learning, is that it sounds like that program might actually be on hold due to budgetary issues. And we would like to talk to staff about where it would be appropriate to actually put, a bus pad within the land holdings of J&J. So it's something we're willing to consider, but I wouldn't want to make it a specific condition for this particular site just because the bulk of the people that even come here are going to other buildings. So it makes sense to put it somewhere else. But I'm happy to answer any questions. We are asking, the other thing I should mention is we are asking for several waivers. They predominantly relate to stormwater management. This is in a karst area, as everybody well knows, and so a lot of them do relate to infiltration and those types of requirements. Happy to answer any questions or.
I had just one question looking through this. What is alternative buffer? What is that?
So your zoning ordinance has specific buffer requirements, but if you would follow the ordinance literally, it would be a very linear pattern when you do that buffer. So your ordinance also provides that rather than essentially ending up with a line of trees right in a row, you're allowed to create some variation and create some interest essentially when planning them. So we are meeting the planning requirements. It's just allowing for variation as that's designed and laid out on the site.
Great, thank you.
Question, when the first screen you showed, there were buildings labeled M1 through M11. Are they all part of the same organization?
Yes, so Johnson
Okay,
&
great.
Johnson either owns or leases all of those buildings.
Right.
So all the buildings that are shown in yellow contain J&J.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's certainly pertinent to wait on where you may want to position the bus stop because each of those buildings has different demographics going to them.
We are looking for authorization for preparation of an.
Right. Donna, are there any public questions out there? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none. Rich, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. Happy to make a motion to authorize solicitor to draft a resolution of decision, including waivers for LD 07-2024 for 244-260 Great Valley Parkway for J&J Innovative Medicine for their preliminary final land development plan.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And passes.
Great.
Aye.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy
Yes.
holidays.
And you.
Very.
We do appreciate a lot of the flexibility that you folks had put into this as well around our ordinance and all that. So again, thank you.
All right, so currently no, under item 5C, no projects that require extensions. We got a couple of those over the last month or two to carry us through the holiday season into the new year, so we didn't have to worry about that over the holidays. We do not have any final releases requested for financial security. And under 5E, we do have a request to authorize advertisement of a hearing for a conditional use application. This is the application of 52 East Swedesford by Tri Point Properties for the apartment redevelopment over near the 202, a ramp off of, or onto Swedesford Road, I should say. So I know the last month or two, we've had a couple of hearings that, we're more involved. So we wanted to at least make sure the board was okay with authorizing it for the January 8th regular board meeting rather than a standalone evening. We do have until basically the end of January. I wouldn't anticipate as involved of a hearing process. So it would probably be fine to hold it on the regular meeting, but we wanted to make sure you guys were okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with that.
All right, we will initiate that and make sure we coordinate all the schedules for meetings with the applicant as well.
So I guess we need a motion to advertise.
Sure. I'll make a motion to authorize the advertisement for the conditional use hearing for the applicant CU-12-2024 for 52 East Swedesford Road. Hearing to be held on January 8th.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, John, with zoning and code enforcement.
Okay, under applications for the month of December, the only new one we have that we haven't discussed before coming before us would be application 07-2024. It's the application of William Davison, Chucktown LLC for the property located at 336 Conestoga Road. That property is in the neighborhood schools district, and the applicant is seeking a variance to allow the construction of a single-family dwelling on that property. They're going to require multiple things on the neighborhood schools district, including dimensional variances, tract area, lot width, right-of-way, setback lines, and basically the whole thing. I have Zach loaded a aerial view from Chesco Views that shows the property. On the property is an existing pump station from the water company that previously used the property, and they're going to do a creative reuse of that, I believe, is the garage. Mr. Davison's here this evening to, if any questions are, to pop up about the property.
Good evening. John, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Oh, thank you.
My name is Bill Davison. I'm a real estate broker for 45 years in the area. Matter of fact, I did some work with the township several years ago when we purchased the ground that is now the Battle of Cloud. I've lived in this area my whole life. In Charlestown now. I grew up in Forest Lane and Malvern. I'm local. So I have this property under agreement. It's the old suburban water pumping station. Somewhere along the line, this property was rezoned the same zoning as the school district. I looked at your zoning map. I counted about 16 properties that were contiguous to the high school and the middle school. And there were only 3 that were included in this zone. So as a result, if you look at the chart for uses, there are no uses currently for that property as a result of the zone. So I'm asking for relief, number 1, of the use, and number 2, for some dimensional relief. It's a derelict property. It's built like a fortress. Hard to believe it has a basement. So that's not going anywhere. But this is a very good opportunity for adaptive reuse. Our country is 5 million homes short. There's a deficit of the United States. We need places for our young people to work in the school district. Sure, sure. Work at the school district, that work at the hospital, police and fire. They need places to live to. This is not going to be a McMansion, about 2,100 square feet. We're going to use the existing building and add to it about total of about 2,100 square feet. The impervious surface does not change because we're putting the addition, the house, part of the development on paved area. I think it's a good project. Anybody have any questions?
My initial question is kind of understanding its proximity to the intersection and actually using Affinity Veterinary Center that's right next door to you. It is very difficult to get in and out of that, except if you're making a right turn. And I am a little bit reticent for the safety and welfare of the eventual people living there to be able to their ingress and egress out of the property. It's during busy times they are just not going to be able to make a left from there too easily, or too safely, I should say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But one of the nice parts, it's backed up in traffic most of the time, so you ease your way out. And it already has a driveway there, so we're not asking for a new driveway. It's been there. I try to figure out how long this property's been here. I would say I remember it going to high school back in the 70s. So I would say it's at least 50, and it could be 60 or 70 years old. So people aren't zooming by at 65. Most of the time they're just sitting, including me.
And you're going to be able to reuse the structure?
Yes, well, it's going to be the garage.
That'll be the garage, and you'll
So the
add
the
on
living
the
quarters
basement.
will be to the left of it.
as you're facing it.
Right.
To the left.
Basically a 30 by 30 pad. I gave you a rendering of what I'd like it to look like. I don't have the final plan, but that's sort of what it will look like. And it'll probably sell for close to 700.
For how many square feet?
21. Two-car garage.
1.5 at least.
I would be curious to Chief Yeager's take on the ingress egress possibility. I know for the school driveway, it's only a right turn. Affinity, I guess, kind of skirts that.
You're right. Normally, anytime we're looking at somebody going out into a 4-lane highway, trying to make a left, it's not a good scenario. I would hope if they built a house and someone came out, if they wanted to go east, they would just go up, make a right and go up and make a left on Phoenixville Pike. And then it's not the easiest route, but you could do a circuit over to Moores Road and back out or wherever you wanted to go. But I agree, that's a bad place for a left turn to exit.
It's the same issue as the veterinary place right next door. You know, it's further down a little bit, but I mean, we used to go there, and during the day is a different story. It's doable. But boy, oh boy. Public water, public sewer? Right?
On-site sewer.
On-site sewer. There's
The
no,
sewer line is nowhere near there.
oh, it isn't? No? So the veterinary place also is on-site? Yeah, okay. There's big houses right across the street.
I'm not seeing it up there, but isn't Little Valley Creek behind there?
Tributary.
Yeah, that,
Right back here. And the house would be to the left.
okay. And that's part of the relief that you're probably looking for as well, right? With the tributary behind it.
For zoning, that they would be required to do, does it look like they're getting close enough to
They just have to have it's a 150-foot riparian buffer for DEP purposes?
if they trigger a DEP permit?
Right.
So generally,
Sorry, my guess is he won't need any state level permits like an MPDS permit like you might see on a larger development. It's on lot sewer, so it's kind of handled at the county level, not
True.
anything that goes through the DEP for sewer planning. So likely he wouldn't trigger some of those buffering requirements.
it was perk approved by the county. Good perk. Alternate location that was.
I wonder, just relative to your comment about the stream buffer, I wonder if there's anything you'd be willing to do at the rear of the site, just being mindful of the fact that it's a tributary to a high quality stream, just to try to make sure you.
Mindful, but I'm just gonna stay away from it.
Right, yeah.
4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, or 3-bedroom?
3, 2.5.
3, 2.5, 700,000.
So if you have no further questions, I would respectfully ask for a positive recommendation to the hearing board. If I can't get that, a neutral one would be great.
Do you know if, with the change in use from, well, I guess it's nothing, to a house, do you need an updated HOP from PennDOT's on a state road?
Driveway's there, I can check in.
True, yeah,
And they put their guardrails, they stopped it at the entrance to the driveway. So
yeah, I see that, yeah.
I would say that probably there before there was a PennDOT road. I guess.
Wow. I mean, I'm okay with neutral, provided, I guess the only thing if we wanted to recommend, right turn in, right turn out. But that would be could be a zoning hearing board. They're capable.
I just see it as a bad idea for ingress egress. I am not for.
Yeah, I know it is brutal. I understand your point, but I think I'm going to go with a sort of a neutral and let the zoning hearing board take it up and with all of the conditions and variances that you're trying to put in, let them do their work on this one, I think. But yeah. Is there a point where, Chief, that there could be, from a private driveway like this, a requirement that you can only make a right turn? Being this is a PennDOT road, is that kind of a...
I've never seen that, and I don't know how it could be, because
Just asking,
yeah. I mean, it's only done at your level, if you're going to tell someone, and I don't even know if that's possible, but I've never seen that.
Okay. Just curious, that's all.
And with
Construction. So we'll look into things like protecting the stream during construction with silt socks and things like that. And they likely wouldn't need anything from PennDOT since it's an existing driveway. We'll confirm those types of things. But normally that's where you'd see something like a right turn restriction. But for a low volume driveway like this, likely they wouldn't bother. They would just let, practicality serve the day.
Bill, I see there's two big sycamores on to the right of the structure. I assume you want to keep those, right?
I would say that the one you see to the left is half of it. The other half is owned by the schools. And the one on the right, yes, absolutely. No reason for
Any contact with the school, with the schools? Have they had any input at all, or just because of proximity?
I couldn't speak to it. Maybe the applicant could, but as I understand it, the school hasn't shown any interest in acquiring this land. It just doesn't have a value to them. I think I had heard maybe from previous people calling, with questions about the property, that the school district had been approached to purchase it and had declined. So I don't believe they have an interest in the
I
property.
contacted them twice, and they haven't returned my calls. So the letter went out, I hand delivered it.
Mhm. Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's referencing the legal notice that they would get for the zoning hearing board application.
So, what's that?
You gotta remain neutral.
Yeah, I'll remain neutral at this point in time. Again, I'll let the zoning hearing board do their due diligence. So I guess we got two neutral and one dissenting. So
Thank you.
so I guess you're okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
All right, thanks, Bill.
And on updates for the month, the complaints of the month include barking dogs and light pollution in residential districts. I'd like to remind the residents that the township ordinance requires that dogs be brought in and controlled after 10 minutes of continuous barking. We actually do have a section of the code, chapter 54, that covers that information. On lights, we also ask that residents that operate their security lighting, that they be cognizant of their impact of their new lights. Newer design lights, of course, are more efficient and throw out more light, and they be cognizant of the impact on their neighbors and use products that limit the lighting to their own lots. That's the two updates for the month. Mr. Fixer might be able to tell me if I got notification today that the Friendly's parking lot's empty again as of today. Yes. Thank you.
Great. Very good.
John, just curious, the lighting that may be excessive, is there in the ordinance a time where the light should be diminished within the ordinance? Do we have anything that's specific about that?
Times, no, it's more on the amount of foot candles that go at the property line, that kind of stuff. The biggest complaint we're getting is people putting lights up without shields and then them not being directed. I had two this past week, and the residents literally said, okay, I can aim the lights down. Already got a report today that one of them that was already taken care of. The guy came over from work today, went out, loosened them up. And then the other one we're working on is the Rivian property. Light was flooding onto building development behind them. Even with the elevation changes, you can still see the lights. They have shades ordered for their lights there. So.
Along those lines, I had mentioned to Zach, I was driving through West Whiteland and I noticed they've got a number, I think it's just past in West Whiteland, Ship Road, that development, or building complex across from what is currently vacant land, but they've got a parking lot and the lights were bright, but the way they were set up and the candles shooting down and the cover, it looked pretty good. You know, it was safe, but it wasn't really broad. So I was going to try to find out where or what their ordinance is pertaining to something like that. It might be worth looking at rather than trying to change our ordinance. But anyway, all right, thanks. Moving on to public comment. Okay, thank you. Final action will be the consent agenda. Stop me if you've got any questions or if anyone has any questions. The first one is approve the meeting minutes from October 23, 2024, budget, and November 13 and 29, 2024. I'll add one thing, Donna, if you could. On the sheet where those notes are, if you could put in the word budget on the notes from the October 23rd meeting, it looks like it could have been a regular supervisor meeting, but if you can just put in the word budget, just in case somebody picks it up, they'll understand that was the budget. It was a budget meeting. 8B, ratify payments of the bills for November. And the amount is $727,478.78. C, the treasurer report. D, ratify the proposal in the amount of $1,300 from William Wood Company for appraisal of property
I would like to ask Zach about that. What is that, Zach?
located on the corner of Old Sweetsford Road and Hillsdale Drive.
Yeah, it's a property we talked about, I guess last month. As you're heading east towards 202, like from,
That property.
Const-
Okay,
yep.
now I
Yeah.
remember. Sorry to interrupt.
no, that's fine. That's what, there's two parcels there. That 1,300 amount is for both, to get an appraisal on both properties.
Understood. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
8E, approve the 2025 Park and Recs annual events calendar. And finally, ratify the purchase of a John Deere compact track loader. It was approved back in April of 2024, and the amount is $112,840.08.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 11th, 2024 consent agenda as read.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and passes. And the meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock.